What is the soundtracks you can't get over at all? Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy's soundtrack is eternal. Guardians of the Galaxy Wedding Singer, The Lost Boys and The Crow soundtracks. I love the Westworld soundtrack. Some original songs, but a healthy scattering of famous songs played on a piano. Well worth a listen. I have a few saved to my phone as well as the original versions of the songs. They really liked Radiohead. I really like Radiohead to just an observation. Time by Hans Zimmer. This live performance is one of the most beautiful performances I've ever seen. The way the violinist moves, and with emotion, is hypnotizing. Goosebumps and Wet Eyes. Every f***ing time. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Probably really showing my age there. I'll preface this by saying, I do not condone the movies or the books. I loathe both, but the soundtracks from the Twilight movies sort of embody my college undergrad years, and, yeah. Halo. There's something just beautifully nostalgic about hearing 123, Reach and Oddst's music, soft but powerful, always a constant reminder of simpler days. Went back and listened to the Seance the other night, had goosebumps most of the way through. Machinarium soundtrack is great. The Umbrella Academy, pretty underrated if you ask me. That soundtrack had no right being as good as it was. Literally every song slapped. Final Fantasy XI and The Painted Veil. Interstellar, The Last of Us, Life is Strange. Disney movies. Also, Happy Cake Day. I've never played the game, but the soundtrack to Chrono Cross still gives me goosebumps. The soundtrack to Sucker Punch. FIFA 16 never played the game, but that playlist, oh my, and King Arthur Legend of the Sword. Oh, and Baby Driver. FIFA introduced me to a lot of not that popular talented artists. NFS series, Flat Out series, WWE themes. Game of Thrones. ESP The Battle of Winterfell song in 8th season. Lord of the Rings. Death Note, use it for studying a lot. Back to the Future, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? That first Pokemon movie with Mewtwo. How to Train Your Dragons. It brings me to a whole different place. Batman v Superman soundtrack. Pretty much every Witcher 3 soundtrack. That game has the best music ever. It has the best everything ever. The Big Lebowski and Baby Driver. The awesome thing about Baby Driver is that after a few watches you can listen to the soundtrack and sort of play the movie in your head. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, especially song for Bob. Cuphead, Ori and the Blind Forest. Bro, you ever been in a RuneScape dungeon? Donkey Kong Country 2. Happy Cake Day BTW. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. One of the best. Hyrule Castle in BOTW might be the greatest video game song ever. The Dark Beast Ganon music is also incredible. Music from Before the Storm by Daughter. I love it. I don't want to get over it. That game was pretty underrated. Shame it only got 3 chapters. It didn't feel long enough in my opinion. I really like the music. It kinda has that Life is Strange feel, but is a bit heavier, grungier to fit Chloe. Yeah, it's great. I'd have liked more chapters too, and perhaps a few time jumps wouldn't have been a bad idea. Give me a chapter set 6 months later or so, a year later, whatever. Have 5 or 6 chapters covering the whole 3 years of Rachel and Chloe's relationship, rather than just the first week or so. Chrono Cross. Not my favorite game. Chrono Trigger is. Chrono Cross was not the sequel we were looking for, but point-to-point music. The music is worth the game's existence. Pure magic. I listen to it at work. A work of art. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's definitely one of the best soundtracks in the last decade. Crazy Taxi. Introduced 9-year-old me to a whole new world of music. Drive. I'm surprised nobody mentioned Morrowind or any Elder Scrolls, FTL, the Banner Saga or the soundtrack of WoW Wrath of the Lich King yet. Rocket League and Minecraft soundtracks. Sweden for Minecraft. Songs like Breathing and The Water for Rocket League. Epic Games are going to buy Rocket League. I really hope it doesn't ruin the game. Star Trek. Pretty much all of them. Solomon's theme from Battlefield 3. Persona 3 Battle for Everyone's Soul. Garden State and City of Angels. The Us movie soundtrack. I just love the creepy feeling I get while listening to it. Life is Strange. Don't care what anyone says about the game, you can't deny the feels trip obstacles by Sid Matters can bring. Majula theme from Dark Souls 2 beats all other hub themes. The Boat That Rocked has the absolute best 60s rock soundtrack ever. Mogwai La Evidence via YouTube. Undertale, Terraria and Don't Starve Together. Greatest Showman, Brother Bear, Tarzan, and Guardians of the Galaxy. All great. All in my phone. Had to scroll way too long to find The Greatest Showman. The Curse of the Black Pearl. Never watched Pirates of the Caribbean, but the soundtrack is so good. In high school band we performed the Medallion Calls and the Black Pearl. I was obsessed with the sound then, and I still am now. I occasionally listen to Undertale and Diablo 2 soundtracks, but these have been mentioned already. However, my most listened to soundtracks are from AOE2 and AOM. I often listen to them while programming. It's just the right thing to get me in the mood for it. Brick. It's this noir-inspired mystery movie about high schoolers and drug dealers with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. When I first watched it, I couldn't get over the soundtrack. Minecraft and Wolf Children's soundtracks are insanely good. Nier Automata. Never has a game left me feeling as many emotions as that game when I finished all endings. Stranger Things has a pretty good one. Not sure if it counts, but Baby Shark. Arrival, especially the On the Nature of Daylight track. Mary Askreddit soundtrack, Heaven. More or less every spaghetti western song in Tarantino's movies. Django Unchained soundtrack was incredibly powerful, still gives me chills after 2 years. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. The 1996 Romeo and Juliet movie has a brilliant soundtrack. Golden Sun, Radiant Historia, Bravely Default, Fire Emblem, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Legend of Zelda, Undertale. I love story-oriented RPGs, but the best thing about every game I named is a soundtrack. Music just has a way of making any fantasy you have into a reality. The Thunderbirds shows, and the 2004 movie, just amazing soundtracks. 500 Days of Summer reminds me a lot of my early teen years. Garden State just awesome. Oh Man Rodina, Terraria, Minecraft, House of the Dying Sun, both Hotline Miamis, just to name a few. Silent Hill 2, great dark ambient music. Akira Yamaoka is a genius. The Elder Scrolls 4th Oblivion. Can't listen to this without getting urges to revisit Oblivion. Samurai Champloo Departure. Rest in peace New Jabes, you left the world too soon. Judgment Night 1993 metal bands and rappers collaborating Pearl Jam and Cypress Hill Slayer and Ice-T Faith No More, and the Boa Tribe my fave. I still bust it out in the car every now and then to this day. Big Nick, Zombies and the FTL soundtrack. Lost didn't think much of the show to be honest, but it had a great soundtrack that was sort of orchestral and was bittersweet. Phantom Thread loved Johnny Greenwood. The Mission was a mediocre music video for an amazing Ennio Morricone score. Donkey Kong 2 did his conquest. Twilight. The soundtrack was amazing. Gladiator, Spirit Stallion of Cimarron. E$17 also most of A Hat in Time soundtracks are pretty dope. Rocketman, absolutely phenomenal. The Transformers Fall of Cybertron soundtrack. Need for Speed Underground 2 and the original NFS Most Wanted PS2. Absolutely love the third Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End soundtrack. As a family on long car trips we would listen to it endlessly on repeat. My brothers and I knew it so well we could narrate the movie, just listening to the tracks. Love soundtracks. Fight Club by the Dust Brothers is incredible. Raising Arizona by Carter Burwell is probably my favorite. The Last Waltz, Him and Him, Bluebird, Steel Samurai theme. Revolutionary Road is an underrated classic. Thomas Newman at his stirring best. Helps that the movie was one of the best acted films I've seen. Need for Speed Most Wanted, does this count? The movie was pretty bad, but hear me out. Assassin's Creed. I enjoyed the composer's previous work for Macbeth as well. The tracks from the Vikings series soundtrack by Wardruna are also great, if you enjoy that kind of thing. Go. Natural Born Killers. Pulp Fiction. Well, the Jurassic Park main theme has been a recurring ohrwurm for decades now. In Bruges main them, song for Bob from the Assassination of Jesse James, the Cantona song from Star Wars, and a couple from Sweeney Todd. Baby Driver has such a great soundtrack. Video game wise Persona 5 is great as well. Undertale has some musics that are extremely emotional despite being 16-bit. I have no idea how they did it.